Have you ever felt like there's something missing? Like despite achieving everything you thought would bring happiness, there's still a sense of emptiness lingering inside? It's a feeling that many of us experience, yet it's often dismissed or ignored. But what if the key to true fulfillment isn't found in the pursuit of external desires, but in turning inward and embracing the stillness within? Today, we're going to embark on a profound journey of self-discovery. We'll dive deep into the illusion of insufficiency that many of us live by, the endless chase for fulfillment in things outside of ourselves, and the paradoxical nature of reality. We'll explore how true peace and happiness aren't things we can chase, they're already inside us, waiting to be discovered. We've been conditioned from a young age to believe that something's always missing, that we need more, whether it's more success, more possessions, more validation. But as we peel back the layers, we begin to uncover the most valuable truth. We already have everything we need. In this video, we'll explore how the illusion of insufficiency keeps us trapped in endless pursuit, why seeking fulfillment externally is like chasing a carrot that's always just out of reach, the paradox of reality, how the visible and invisible worlds are more interconnected than we realize, the liberation of the ego, and how disidentifying from it leads to true freedom, and finally, how true fulfillment comes when we turn inward and embrace the present moment. So stay with me until the end, because this journey could be the one that transforms the way you see yourself and the world forever. Since childhood, we've been taught that we're insufficient, that we're not enough just as we are. Society, our families, the media, they all tell us that we need more achievements, more possessions, more recognition. This idea of insufficiency becomes so ingrained in us that it becomes almost impossible to question it. But what if this belief is the very thing keeping us from experiencing the richness of life? You see, deep within each of us is an invaluable treasure, a wellspring of innate resources, boundless potential, and unlimited capabilities. But from the moment we enter this world, we are bombarded by messages that tell us we're lacking. We grow up believing that our happiness lies in something external, some goal we need to achieve, something we need to acquire. But this endless chasing never ends. It's like the donkey chasing the carrot, forever just out of reach. The truth is, we've been conditioned to believe that fulfillment lies somewhere in the future, always just beyond our grasp. The more we chase these external desires, the more we become disconnected from the present moment and from our true essence. We get trapped in a cycle of striving and searching, believing that one day, once we get the next promotion or the bigger house or the approval from others, we'll finally feel complete. But this search is a maze. It's a labyrinth of external validation, fleeting pleasures, and empty promises. And as long as we keep chasing, we remain lost, never truly experiencing the joy and peace that comes from simply being present with ourselves. The system we live in, much like the enigmatic matrix, forces us to keep pursuing these desires. It keeps us trapped in the illusion of insufficiency, driving us to believe that we need something more to feel whole. This cycle of endless searching takes us further away from the truth that's been with us all along. The more we seek outside, the less we find within, and yet the real treasure is always there, waiting to be discovered. It's in the stillness, the quiet moments, where we can truly hear the whispers of our own soul. But how do we begin to unravel this web of illusion? The first step is recognizing the trap. We must acknowledge that the external search, the chase for things outside of us, is not the path to fulfillment. It's a cycle that will always leave us wanting more. We must shift our focus from the outer world to the inner world, where true wisdom and peace reside. When we stop looking outside for validation, we create the space to look within. And it's in this space that we start to find something remarkable, the present moment. The present moment is where life truly happens. We often think of the present as just a fleeting blip between the past and future, but in reality, it's the only time we ever experience. The past is gone, the future hasn't come yet. But right now, this very moment is the only place where we can truly live, The problem is that we've been conditioned to overlook the present. We're constantly looking for the next thing, the next goal, the next achievement that will bring us happiness. But by focusing on what's ahead, we miss out on the richness and depth of what's here, right in front of us. The great system of external chasing keeps us distracted, keeps us looking towards some distant future, where we believe everything will be okay. But it's in this endless pursuit that we miss the beauty of the now. The truth is, the more we seek in the future, the less we live in the present. It's a paradox, really. We're constantly searching for something that's just out of reach, thinking that once we obtain it, we'll be fulfilled. But all along, we're missing the deeper truth: we're already whole. Now, you might be wondering, how do we break free from this cycle? How do we shift our attention from the endless search to the present moment? The answer lies in awareness. Awareness is the key that unlocks the door to the present moment. When we become aware of our thoughts, feelings, and desires without judgment, we begin to see the patterns that keep us trapped in this cycle of external seeking. By simply becoming aware of the thoughts that tell us we need more, that we're not enough, we can start to unravel the illusion. This doesn't mean we have to reject desires or goals, but rather, we must recognize that these things will not bring us the fulfillment we crave. True fulfillment comes from within, from our connection to the present moment, and from the recognition that we are already complete. We are not our desires. We are not our achievements. We are not the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. We are something far deeper, something that transcends time, space, and all the external factors we think define us. When we begin to recognize this, we begin to break free from the illusion of insufficiency. We stop chasing after things that will never satisfy us and start living fully in moment. It's in this space of presence, of stillness, that we can truly experience the richness of life. But breaking free from the cycle of external seeking is not easy. It requires us to challenge the very beliefs we've been raised with. It asks us to step outside of the norms and conditioning of society and live in a way that's true to our essence. This is where the paradox of reality begins to unfold. Reality itself, the world we live in, is a puzzle. It's something that cannot be fully understood by the mind alone. The more we try to grasp it with our intellect, the further we move away from its true nature. To understand reality, we must first acknowledge that it cannot be grasped by logic or language alone. It's not something we can fully explain or dissect. Reality exists beyond the confines of the mind. It's something we must experience, feel, and live. As we begin to embrace this paradox, we find that the external world, the world of things and achievements, is only one part of the whole picture. There's another layer to reality, one that exists beyond what we can see or touch. It's the unseen world, the intangible forces that shape our lives. The more we turn inward and embrace the present moment, the more we begin to tap into this deeper layer of reality. It's in the stillness of the present that we can truly begin to experience the fullness of life. And in that fullness, we discover that we are already enough. So, how do we navigate this paradoxical reality? How do we live fully in the present moment and break free from the cycle of external seeking? That's what we'll explore next. But first, let's pause and reflect on the truth that's emerging. The real treasure lies not in what we seek outside, but in the stillness within. As we continue this journey, we realize that the paradox of reality is not something to fear, but something to embrace. It invites us to stop trying to understand everything with our minds and instead allow ourselves to experience life as it unfolds. The more we try to control, to intellectualize, the further we drift from the true experience of being alive. The essence of life exists beyond the limits of our thoughts. It lives in the space between words, in the pauses that happen when we stop trying to grasp the world. Reality is a puzzle that transcends language and linear thinking. It isn't just made up of what we can see and touch. It's an intricate dance of the tangible and the intangible, the visible and the invisible. It challenges us to perceive with something deeper than our five senses. To truly know it, we must quiet our minds and listen to the wisdom that lies beyond logic. Think about it for a moment. How often do we get caught up in trying to explain everything? The desire to categorize, label, and understand is ingrained in us, but it can also block us from fully experiencing life. When we focus too much on understanding, we miss the richness that exists in the mystery. The true nature of life is not something that can be fully explained. It must be felt. It must be lived. The mind is a powerful tool, but it's also a limited one. It can only grasp fragments of the whole picture. When we rely solely on it, we end up with a fragmented view of reality, and in this fragmentation, we lose sight of the bigger picture, the deeper truth of our existence. We start to identify with the stories our minds create about who we are and what life is supposed to be. But those stories, while they may be useful for navigating the world, are not the truth. They are just stories. In the quest for understanding, we often forget that life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be experienced. It's like trying to fit the ocean into a bottle. No matter how hard we try, we can never capture the vastness of the sea in such a small container. Reality, too, is too vast, too intricate to be reduced to simple definitions. To experience it fully, we must let go of the need for complete understanding and embrace the mystery. But this doesn't mean we should abandon our minds entirely. It's about finding balance. We must learn to use the mind as a tool, but not allow it to define us or dictate our reality. The mind is like a compass. It can help guide us, but it is not the destination itself. The destination is the present moment, the space beyond thought where true wisdom resides. This is where we begin to experience the paradox of reality. The more we let go of our need to control and understand, the more we begin to experience the fullness of life. When we stop striving for answers and simply allow ourselves to be, we enter into a state of flow, a state where life unfolds naturally and effortlessly. It's in this space that we find true freedom. Now, let's explore what it means to live fully in the present moment. The present is where life happens, yet it's often the most overlooked. We're so focused on the past or the future that we forget to live right here, right now. But this is where we can find true fulfillment. The present moment is the doorway to peace. It's the only moment we truly have. The past is gone, and the future hasn't yet arrived. But the present is alive with possibility. It's a space where we can connect with our true selves, free from the distractions and noise of the outside world. When we focus on the present, we stop trying to control everything. We stop searching for answers, and we stop trying to make things happen according to our plans. Instead, we allow life to unfold as it is, without resistance. We allow ourselves to experience each moment with full presence, without judgment, without expectation. Living in the present moment requires a deep shift in consciousness. It requires us to step away from the constant chatter of the mind and to be fully engaged with what is happening right now. It means letting go of our attachment to the past and our anxiety about the future. It's about being here fully and completely in this moment. In this state of presence, we begin to realize that everything we've been searching for is already here. We don't need to chase after it. We just need to stop and notice it. Fulfillment is not something to be attained. It's something to be experienced in the now. It's found in the quiet moments, in the spaces between thoughts, in the simple acts of being alive. But how do we cultivate this state of presence in a world that constantly demands our attention? How do we slow down enough to truly live in the now? The answer lies in mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of bringing our full attention to the present moment. It's about being aware of our thoughts, our feelings, and our surroundings without judgment. When we practice mindfulness, we stop being lost in thought and start experiencing life as it is. We become more attuned to the subtle beauty of the present moment. And in doing so, we begin to reconnect with our true selves. But mindfulness is not just a practice, it's a way of life. It's about bringing awareness to everything we do, whether it's eating, walking, or having a conversation. It's about being fully present in each moment, no matter how mundane or ordinary it may seem. As we cultivate mindfulness, we begin to realize that life is not something to be fixed or perfected. It's something to be lived, and in living it we find peace, we find fulfillment, we find ourselves. So, what does it mean to be free? To be truly free? It means freeing ourselves from the stories we've been telling ourselves about who we are and what we need. It means letting go of the external desires that keep us trapped in the cycle of searching. It means turning inward, reconnecting with the essence of who we truly are, and embracing the present moment as the source of our fulfillment. This is the paradox of reality. The more we let go, the more we gain. The more we stop searching, the more we find. The more we become present, the more we experience the fullness of life. It's not in the future, and it's not in the past, it's right here, right now. In the next part, we'll explore how this journey leads us to discover our true selves, how disidentifying from the ego can set us free from the illusions that bind us. We'll explore how, by silencing the mind, we can begin to realize that we are something far greater than the stories we tell ourselves. But before we dive deeper into that, let's pause for a moment to reflect on what we've uncovered so far. The present moment is where true fulfillment lies, and in that moment, everything we've been seeking is already here. As we continue exploring the nature of reality, we begin to uncover the profound role that the ego plays in shaping our experience of the world. The ego is the mind's creation, a false identity built on a complex web of beliefs, desires, and conditioning. It's the voice inside our heads that tells us who we are, what we need, and how we should behave. But the ego, as much as it seems like an integral part of us, is not who we truly are. In the process of self-discovery, we must learn to disidentify from the ego. To do so, we must begin by recognizing its influence. The ego often disguises itself as our true self, making it difficult to distinguish between the stories it tells and the deeper truth that lies beneath. It feeds on desires, fears, and judgments, constantly seeking validation and reassurance from the outside world. But here's the catch. The more we identify with the ego, the more we become trapped in its illusions. We believe that we are the stories we tell ourselves, stories of success, failure, worth, or unworthiness. We become so attached to these identities that we forget the essence of who we truly are. And in this attachment, we lose the freedom to simply be. The ego thrives on duality. It wants to categorize everything, good or bad, right or wrong, success or failure. It keeps us stuck in this endless cycle of comparison, judgment, and striving for something we don't yet have. But the moment we stop identifying with these labels, we begin to see the world in a new light. We realize that we are not defined by our successes or failures, our achievements or shortcomings. We are not the stories we tell ourselves. When we step back and observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, we begin to see them for what they truly are, transient and impermanent. They flow through us like clouds passing through the sky. But we are not the clouds. We are the sky, vast, open, and free. In this space of awareness, we begin to uncover our true self. Our true self is not bound by the constraints of the ego. It is not limited by beliefs, judgments, or social conditioning. It is the essence of who we are, pure, untainted, and infinite. And it is always present, waiting to be discovered. But how do we disidentify from the ego? How do we begin to free ourselves from its grip? The answer lies in mindfulness and presence. By learning to observe our thoughts and emotions without becoming attached to them, we create the space necessary to disidentify from the ego. We begin to realize that we are not our thoughts, but the awareness behind them. We are not our emotions, but the stillness in which they arise and pass away. This practice of disidentifying from the ego requires patience and persistence. It's not something that happens overnight, but over time, as we cultivate greater self-awareness, we begin to see through the illusions that the ego creates. We begin to realize that we are not separate from the world around us. We are interconnected with everything and everyone. And in this realization, we find true freedom. It's important to remember that the ego is not something to be fought against. It is a part of our human experience, But when we stop identifying with it, we no longer let it control our lives. We become the observers of the ego rather than its servants. We learn to live from a place of inner peace, free from the need for validation, achievement, or success. The more we disidentify from the ego, the more we begin to experience the freedom that comes from simply being. We stop chasing after external desires and begin to see the richness and fullness of the present moment. We stop seeking fulfillment outside of ourselves and realize that it has been inside us all along. In this space of freedom, we discover that the true self is not something we have to create or attain. It is something that is already within us. We don't need to become anyone else or achieve anything more. We simply need to return to the essence of who we truly are. But this process of self-discovery requires us to quiet the mind. It requires us to stop the constant chatter that keeps us distracted from the present moment. And it requires us to let go of the need for control and certainty. Only then can we experience the peace and freedom that come from living in alignment with our true self. As we begin to silence the mind, we start to realize that we are not the thoughts that pass through our heads. We are not the emotions that rise and fall within us. We are not the stories we tell about ourselves. We are the awareness that observes all of these things. We are the stillness that lies beneath the surface of the mind. In this space of stillness, we begin to experience the true nature of reality. We realize that life is not a problem to be solved or a destination to be reached. It is a journey to be experienced, a mystery to be lived. And the more we let go of our need to control or understand, the more we begin to experience the fullness of life. This is the beauty of the journey towards self-awareness. The more we let go, the more we find. The more we stop searching for fulfillment outside of ourselves, the more we discover the peace and freedom that already reside within us. In the next part, we will explore how this journey leads to the discovery of inner peace and true fulfillment. We will discuss how turning inward and detaching from conditioned desires can bring us closer to the essence of who we truly are. But for now, take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. True fulfillment is not found in external achievements or possessions. It is found in the present moment, in the stillness of our being, and in the freedom that comes from disidentifying from the ego. Take a deep breath and let that sink in. As we continue on this journey of self-discovery, we move deeper into the core of our being, into the space where peace and fulfillment reside, independent of the chaotic world around us. Now that we have begun to see through the illusions of the ego and the endless pursuit of external desires, it's time to explore the profound liberation that comes from turning inward. The very act of turning inward allows us to shift from seeking fulfillment outside of ourselves to embracing the inherent abundance already present within. The present moment, as we've already touched on, holds the key to this transformation. When we become fully immersed in the present, we break free from the tyranny of the past and future. So much of our pain, our stress, and our dissatisfaction stems from our attachment to what was or our anxiety about what might be. But the present moment, the only moment that is truly real, holds the potential for freedom and peace. To experience this, we must learn to let go of the stories we tell ourselves. We often think that we are defined by our past experiences or that our future holds the promise of a better version of ourselves. But in truth, both the past and the future are merely constructs of the mind. The past is a collection of memories, some painful, some joyful, but all ultimately gone. The future is a series of possibilities yet to unfold. Neither of them is truly accessible right now. What we have, what we can truly experience is the present, but how do we shift from living in the past or future to embracing the present moment? The key is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully aware of what is happening right now without judgment or distraction. It's about paying attention to our breath, our surroundings, and the sensations in our body without trying to change or fix anything. This awareness allows us to connect with the essence of who we are beyond the stories and identities we've constructed. When we practice mindfulness, we begin to notice how much of our mental energy is spent dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. We realize how often we miss the beauty of the present moment because we're caught up in thoughts that have nothing to do with what's happening right here and now. As we cultivate mindfulness, we start to experience the richness of life in its most simple and pure form. We begin to notice the subtle details, the sound of birds singing, the feeling of the sun on our skin, the taste of our food, the rhythm of our breath. These moments, often overlooked, are the doorway to experiencing true fulfillment. The more we practice mindfulness, the more we begin to recognize the vastness and depth of our own being. We start to see that we are not limited to the roles we play in society or the identities we've adopted. We are not our jobs, our relationships, or our accomplishments. We are something far greater than that. We are the awareness that observes these things, the stillness beneath the surface. This is where true liberation lies, in the realization that we are not bound by anything. We are not bound by our past, our future, our social conditioning, or the expectations placed upon us by others. We are free to simply exist in this moment without the need for validation or approval. And it is from this space of freedom that we can experience peace, joy, and fulfillment. But freedom is not something that can be grasped. It's not something we achieve by striving or doing. It is something we allow ourselves to experience by letting go. By letting go of the need to control, to be someone else, or to meet external expectations, we open ourselves to the fullness of life as it is. In this state of surrender, we find ourselves in harmony with the universe. We align with the flow of life rather than resisting it. The challenge, however, is that the mind is constantly pulling us away from the present moment. It is so easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of thoughts, emotions, and desires. But every time we become aware of this and gently bring our attention back to the present, we are cultivating inner peace. Each time we return to the stillness within, we are reinforcing our connection to our true self. This process is not always easy. The ego, with its endless cravings and attachments, will try to convince us that something is missing. It will tell us that we need more success, more possessions, more approval, more of anything that promises to fill the emptiness inside. But the truth is, there is nothing missing. The emptiness we feel is not a void that needs to be filled, but a call to return to the essence of who we are. It is the invitation to reconnect with the stillness, the peace, and the infinite wisdom that reside within us. As we turn inward, we discover that true fulfillment is not something we can acquire. It is something we can only realize. It is a natural state of being that arises when we let go of our attachments and open ourselves to the present moment. And when we experience this inner fulfillment, we no longer feel the need to seek approval, recognition, or validation from the external world. We no longer feel driven by the need to prove ourselves or achieve something more. We are enough exactly as we are. This realization is the beginning of true freedom. When we no longer define ourselves by external achievements or the judgments of others, we can live authentically and unapologetically. We can express our true selves, free from the constraints of societal expectations and self-imposed limitations. And in this freedom, we find the peace and joy that we've been searching for all along. The return to our true essence is a process of letting go of the need for approval, the need for control, and the need for external validation. It is the process of unlearning the conditioning that has kept us trapped in the illusion of separation. As we let go, we open ourselves to the fullness of life, the abundance that is already present in the here and now. In the final section, we'll explore how to cultivate this inner peace and fulfillment on a daily basis. We'll discuss practical steps you can take to deepen your practice of mindfulness, silence the mind, and return to your true essence. But for now, take a moment to reflect. The peace, the fulfillment, and the freedom you seek are already within you. All that's left is to let go of everything that keeps you from realizing it. Now that we've begun to understand the essence of our true nature and how to shift from the external pursuit of fulfillment to an inward journey, it's time to explore how to practically embody these teachings in our daily lives. To live from a place of inner peace and true freedom, we must first establish daily practices that remind us of this deeper truth. The external world, with all its distractions, will continue to pull at us, but through consistent inner work, we can return to the stillness within. One of the most powerful practices for cultivating inner peace is the simple act of pausing. In our fast-paced world, where we are constantly rushing from one task to another, it can feel like there is no time to breathe, to stop, to just be. But it's precisely in these moments of pause that we reconnect with ourselves. Start by taking a few minutes each day to simply sit in stillness. Close your eyes, bring your attention to your breath, and let go of all thoughts and distractions. Don't worry about doing anything in this time. There's no agenda, no outcome to achieve. Just sit and breathe, allowing yourself to be fully present in the moment. This practice is not about getting somewhere, but about creating space to reconnect with your essence, to remember that you are more than the thoughts and stories that fill your mind. This practice of pausing throughout the day can be deeply transformative. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, stressed, or caught up in the chaos of life, take a moment to pause. It doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in a meeting, on a walk, or sitting in traffic. Simply take a deep breath and center yourself in the present moment. You'll find that this pause, even if just for a few seconds, is enough to bring you back to your center. The next step is to practice mindful awareness in all aspects of your life. Mindfulness, as we've discussed, is the art of being fully present. But it's not just about meditating or sitting still. It's about bringing awareness into every action you take. Whether you're eating, walking, talking, or even doing chores, bring your full attention to the task at hand. Pay attention to the sensations in your body, the sounds around you, the thoughts and feelings that arise. The more you practice mindfulness in your daily life, the more you begin to see that every moment is an opportunity to connect with the present. There's no need to wait for the perfect moment to be mindful. Every moment can be an opportunity to return to your true self. By cultivating mindfulness, we create a steady foundation of awareness that helps us stay grounded, no matter what's happening in our external world. Another essential practice is to cultivate gratitude. When we turn inward and recognize the abundance that already exists within us, we naturally feel a sense of gratitude. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's lacking to what's already present. It reminds us that fulfillment is not something to chase, but something to acknowledge within ourselves. Each day, take a moment to reflect on what you're grateful for. It can be something as simple as the breath in your lungs, the warmth of the sun, or the comfort of your bed. As you cultivate gratitude, you begin to see the richness of life in every moment. The more you focus on what's working, what's beautiful, and what's abundant in your life, the more you'll realize that everything you need is already here. As you continue to deepen your practice, remember that the path to inner peace and freedom is not a linear one. There will be times when you feel connected to your true self, and there will be times when you feel lost in the noise of the world. This is part of the journey. The key is to return to your practice, whether it's pausing, being mindful, or cultivating gratitude, and to remember that you don't need to do anything to be whole. You are already whole. The external world, with all its distractions, will always be there. But as you continue to nurture your inner world, you'll find that it has less and less power over you. You will no longer feel the need to prove yourself, to chase after things that don't truly fulfill you, or to seek validation from others. You will come to realize that the only thing you need to seek is peace, and that peace is already within you. In conclusion, the journey to true fulfillment and freedom is one of returning home. It's about shedding the layers of conditioning, the stories, and the identities that have kept us disconnected from our true selves. It's about realizing that everything we've been searching for has been within us all along. We don't need to look outside ourselves for peace, for happiness, or for fulfillment. We simply need to turn inward and reconnect with the essence of who we truly are. As you embark on this journey, remember that you are not alone. You are part of a vast interconnected web of life, and your journey is a part of the greater unfolding of the universe. Every step you take toward inner peace is a step toward healing the world around you. When you find peace within, you become a beacon of light for others. So, take a moment now to reflect. What can you do today to reconnect with your true self? How can you begin to let go of the external illusions that have kept you trapped in the cycle of desire? The path is not always easy, but it is simple. It starts with a single step inward. If you found this journey of self-discovery insightful, I encourage you to stay with us and explore even further. In our previous video, Chosen Ones transcend thought and break free from negative thinking. Unlock your true power. We dove deep into how you can release limiting beliefs and unlock the power within you. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out for more transformative insights that will help you continue to break free from the illusions that hold you back. If this content resonates with you, share it with someone who might also benefit from this message. Your support helps spread these teachings and empowers others to live their truest, most authentic lives. Thank you for being part of this journey, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.